Right, Shalom. Giving all praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone and our honest brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And above everybody are coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh. Bashim Yahweh Shai Bashim Kodash. Giving all praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim Kodash. Right, so this is going to be an in-transit style video. Let me pause this. Let me pause that. Slack. Okay, so this is going to be an in-transit style video based upon the scripture that we can see right here. And the purpose of this video is to go into a couple of the topics that we see, a couple of situations that we're seeing throughout the four corners of the earth, and just sort of speak about that and the rhetoric that's going around, which invariably is the accusation, right? Accusations that's being put towards the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, okay? Jake, that's scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, right? These particular terms that you're seeing and these particular targeted strikes that you're seeing, right, against the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, Jake, okay, namely the association between Jake and criminality and the sentiment, the ever-brewing sentiment that these British people have. I'm gonna speak from the perspective of the British because that's what I'm familiar with, and the false notion that you got so-called, you know, people coming over here, right, to Britain, to the UK, and they're destroying the fabric of the so-called British culture, which is a falsehood. Okay, that's a falsehood. Okay, you know, you didn't have a situation where, right, before the so-called migrants came over, Britain was just this peaceful place, right? That was the heralds of peace and safety throughout the four corners of the earth. And it's a short-sightedness in terms of the understanding of these people, these British people, and their history. And it's a willingness to be ignorant of what they have been participating in, or what they have participated in, and what they have been participating in. Okay, the reason why Britain had a prominent economy is because you had a situation where the Mosai raised them up and they was able to go throughout the four corners of the earth and massacre people, right? Nations, right? Raped, robbed, murdered throughout the four corners of the earth, right? The earth was given into the hand of the wicked, right? The earth was given into the hand of the wicked, right? So they was able to use their power, which is the sword, their blessing, which is the sword, spoken about within the book of Genesis, the 27th chapter on the 37th verse, and also to the book of Revelation 6 and 4 speaks about how that there was a red horse and a great sword was given into his hand, and he's been able to use that sword to exert force and terror throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, and that's how Britain and the United States, which came out of Britain, the eighth coming out of the, I forget how the scripture goes, but for all intents and purposes, right? America came out of what? Came out of Britain, and they followed the same rule of thought when it comes to dominating these nations. So when you go to where a Pakistani goes out there into Ireland or whatever, right, or so-called African goes out there into Manchester or whatever, what's the real history or what's happened out there? Because these places that these people are leaving are not resource poor places. Britain is a resource poor place. Nigeria is not resource poor. Nigeria's got oil. Nigeria's got farming. Okay, Nigeria's got mineral resources. Okay, the same thing with a person coming from India. They got resources all over there. But what's happening out there to where you can make the statement that Nigeria is the biggest importer of tomatoes and the biggest producer of tomatoes? What's happening there? What's falling apart? What's falling apart to where you can say the Nigerian economy? I'm using Nigeria as an example because I know the statistics thereof. Right? What's happening there where you're saying Nigeria has got massive oil reserves, right? Nigeria's got massive oil reserves, but they have to import oil. What's happening there? Okay, the same thing with Ghana. Let's use Ghana as another example. Howbeit Ghana is not benefiting from the large, vast quantities of cacao beans, which is chocolate, right, that they're able to produce, because you got a system of oppression run by corporations that have their base within Britain and the USA. Okay, you got all of these corporations that have been stripping the resources throughout the four corners of the earth, which you find out the places like, or other more companies such as BP is associated to the so-called British, right, royal family. Okay, you got other companies that have been right, backing, right, the murdering, okay, the robbing all of these countries, right, off of their natural mineral resources, off of the associated, right, with the aristocracy, okay? Many companies, okay, that have had a charter within the past, right, had a charter within the past to go out there and create havoc and create terror throughout the four corners of the earth. They've had a British charter and a license to go out there and do whatever it's necessary, what it takes to bring the diamonds back, to bring the gold back, to bring the oil back. Do whatever it takes to secure those natural mineral resources throughout the four corners of the earth. And by a process of time, you got into where these people out there that was living in those particular parts of the world, okay, got to a situation where they can't benefit from the natural mineral resources of their own land because the corporations have taken over their own land. Okay, the corporations which are linked up to the British, linked up to Esau. Right? Let's just be real about it. The scripture talks about how the Esau was going to have the fatness of the earth within his hands. Okay? What do you think is happening out there to where a t-shirt costs £4 within Primark? What process do you think has happened? Right? You think that they just decided, woke up one day and say, look, man, we're going to enslave our own people and this is how we're going to build. No. Okay? The world is run by the sword. Okay? The earth is being given into the hand of the wicked. Right? He runs this earth by way of the sword. Okay? He runs this earth by way of the sword. He runs this earth by way of the debt. Just like how the scripture says. Right? Behold, his soul is not upright, but the just shall live by faith. The scripture says this man's mind is not right, man. He ain't right. Right? He uses his means, his blessing, the sword, the economic hitman, to oppress nations, to have it to where a guy, right, living within his own country can't even benefit from the natural resources within his country. So he's got to go where those resources are so somewhat accessible. For example, you're going to use Nigeria again. You're a migrant, okay, coming from Nigeria, right? You can't even access all of them. You can't even access, right, the wealth that comes off of the back of that oil. You can't access it. But who's benefit off of that? The British are benefit off of that, and they're able to create businesses. They're able to create all kind of systems to where you could enjoy some sort of a life out here. Okay, so you see that on the TV. You hear the stories. You hear about, you know, the stories that they tell you out there within Africa of the streets painted with gold. Okay, the reality is that that's not the case, but you hear these particular stories. So you move over there, and now you're being accused. Now you're the one that's bringing terror. It's like, wait, hold on a minute. Are you so short-sighted? Okay, are you so blinded that the corruption that you see throughout the four corners of the earth is not all is all the time? It's Esau. Are you so short-sighted as to forget that the British done divided India up with a sword? Okay, they done massacred people out there within Africa, Southern Africa. Okay, the bear families. Okay, the diamond mining, all of that. How many examples do you have to come to the conclusion that Esau is the problem? You're the one that's a terror throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, that goes to show you that this man is delusional. Okay, at least the base ones, at least the ones that are on the ground, the peon Edomites. Okay, you're delusional. You're the one that's the terror. The migrants are the terror. No, you're the terror, man. They immigrated over here because you was a terror in their country. But the short-sightedness, okay, right? The short-sightedness, the willingness to forget their own history, the willingness to forget that they done conquered America, stole it from the people that was there. Now they're calling them aliens. Okay, it's crazy. But let's read this scripture right here, and hopefully I haven't rambled too much and I've made enough points to make it to where this video is going to be of edification. So let me just read this quick precept here before I get back into the plantation. Right, Revelations 12:10, it says, and I heard a voice from heaven saying, now is salvation come, and strength, and the kingdom of the Most High, and the power of Yahushua, right, Yahushua HaMashiach, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. And creates all of these categories, okay, these categorios, to have it to where you fall into that category. He accuses you, when really all the time he's the one that's the terror upon the face of the planet. So with that, I'm going to say, all praise unto Yabashi Mashai, Bashi Mukwa Haku, that's the one on some to the apostles of great millstone, and the honest brothers that be pushing these truth in sincerity. Yeah, man, the Most High Yabashi Mashai, he's going to hold this person to account. To the end, the scripture says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Shalom.